The internet is full of opinions about heat pumps, but data generally tells a very different story. So today, we're going to use real-world data to answer the top 5 questions that you keep asking. Okay, before we dive into the questions, let me set the scene for you. Everything you're about to see is data from my system. It hasn't been manipulated, it hasn't had it been polished to make it look nice. This is raw data taken directly from the APIs in the platform and then presented in a dashboard on the web. And in fact, this dashboard is going to be updated every single month. That means that you will be able to go to my website anytime you like. If you're really that bored and you can't sleep, you will be able to go there and you will be able to check up on all of my heat pump data. And in fact, also, you'll be able to see all of my solar data, which is already there, but that's another video. And we'll also be publishing all of the information about how much energy we import, how much we export, how much we charge our cars with. All of it will be online and all of it will be available for anybody who feels like they want to go and take a look at it. But today we're going to focus on the heat pump. This is my dashboard. If you'd like to look at it yourself, you want to bring it up in a web browser, if you go to my website, jonathantracy.com, if you head up to the top of the screen here, you'll see something that says data visualization. If you go there, you'll see there's 4 tiles, only actually 2 of them have data. As I mentioned, the solar data is already there, but today we're going to be focusing on the heat pump. Now, I should say at this point, I haven't set this site up for mobile access yet, so you probably won't get anything usable if you're looking at this on a mobile phone. But if you're using it on a tablet, a laptop, a PC, a Mac, anything like that, you should see exactly what I see here. Now, this is an interactive dashboard, and I'm going to walk you through some of the features as we go along. So let's use the data in the dashboard to answer the first question, and that is, how long is it going to take for the heat pump to pay for itself? Well, we can simply find that out because if we scroll down on the dashboard to the charts at the bottom, you'll notice we have a few controls. So we can pick an individual year if we want, but we're looking at ROI here. So we're looking at the whole data set, and we're going to click across to ROI. Now what you'll see here is a chart. The orange part of the chart at the bottom there is every single month that this heat pump has saved me money, and we'll come back to how much it's saved in a little while. Every bit saving has been calculated and every single saving has been cumulative. And that means that as we go along, as we are currently at the end of March 2026, we have cumulative savings of £1,115.38. Now I spent £3,940, so £3,940 on the heat pump and the installation and getting everything set up for it. So then you can see the green part of the chart there is the projection. So based on the rate at which we're paying off the existing amount with our savings, how long will it take for it to pay for itself? And it looks like we'll head out to about June or July 2029 if nothing material changes. If we just carry on going the way we're going, by July 2029, the heat pump will have returned all of the money that we spent on it. And again, you will be able to keep up with this journey if you want to see how I'm getting on, if things are changing. You'll be able to come to this dashboard and just click on it and see exactly where we are and whether or not we've got our money back. Now, I should say at this point, if I'd installed a gas boiler, I wouldn't have any ROI. There is no ROI on a gas boiler. The reason we're able to get our money back is that firstly, we can take advantage of smart tariffs. So we can buy energy cheaply overnight, we can store it in our batteries, and we can use that to run the heat pump. But we can also generate our own power for it. So when the sun comes out, the solar panels will create energy, and that can be used to drive the heat pump as well. So all of that allows us to save money over not buying gas. If we'd chosen a gas boiler, we wouldn't be able to generate our own gas. Therefore, we wouldn't be able to save any money with a gas boiler. So right now, we are currently sort of end of March, beginning of April. If we just mouse over there, we can see there projected payback so far is about £1,115. We've still got a little way to go, a couple of years or 3 years or so, and the heat pump will have paid for itself. Okay, myth number 2. You need massive amounts of batteries to run a heat pump, and even if you have massive amounts of batteries, at some point you will run out in the middle of the winter, and most people's answer is, well, I should buy more batteries. So let's take a look at the real data and see exactly when we ran out of batteries and figure out, is it worth us buying another battery? So let's take a look here at the solar tab. So we're going to go across to solar, and what you can see here is the way the chart is organized is everything in orange was either power we generated ourselves, it was electricity that we bought at cheap rate overnight and stored in our batteries to run the heat pump. The little grey bits you can see on the tops of the graph there are when the batteries ran out and we had to buy energy from the grid. So you can see there, let me just turn off the blue line at the top at the moment. And you can see that only in January 2024, January 2025 and January 2026 did we have to take a small amount of energy from the grid. It really was very tiny amounts. And again, if I turn the blue line back on now, you'll see there it was about 10% in January 2025 of our bill, and it was about 4% of our bill in January 2026. So you can see there's only a very small amount of time where we don't have enough energy in our batteries to run our heat pump. And that's generally on the coldest days of winter. So when I look at that, for the 99% of the year that we have solar, we have cheap rate electricity from the off-peak tariffs, it makes no sense for us to buy another battery. Now, if I scroll back to the top of the dashboard here and look at the energy mix, you will see that we are 97.7% off peak. That means that for the whole period of time that we're looking at here, which is about 15 months worth of data, we are 97% of that we got off peak or we generated it ourselves. So again, it makes no sense for me to buy another set of batteries. And I bet you didn't think you'd hear me ever say that. Okay, while we're at the top of the dashboard, let's answer number 3. Number 3 is all around coefficient of performance. And you can immediately see here, the dashboard calculates my seasonal coefficient of performance, and it's calculating that across the entire 15-month period here of 3.58. But there's that persistent rumor that if you don't have a COP of at least 4, gas is cheaper. Well, I can assure you it's not. Gas is only cheaper with a COP of 4 if you are paying full rate for your electricity. So if you don't have a smart meter, and for whatever reason you've decided that smart meters are evil, you're not ever having one, and you're willing to pay full price for your electricity, you're mad, but that's your decision. If you've got a smart meter, you have access to smart tariffs. If you have a heat pump and you're not on a smart tariff, again, you're crazy. But with smart tariffs, the myth of a coefficient of performance of 4 required is just that. It is a myth. Now, if I scroll back down here and we look at our efficiency, we can see our coefficients of performance on a month-by-month basis. And in fact, what you might notice when you look at this chart is there's actually a gap. The blue lines go up and then there's no data. The reason there is the heat pump wasn't operating. So there was actually an infinite COP because there was no data. But that's why the graph doesn't complete. But what you can see there is the orange line in the middle is our average COP between our hot water and our heating. And occasionally it peaks up. We had a 4.93 last summer, but our average is around about 3.8, 3.9, bordering on 4. So it's a complete myth that gas is going to be cheaper. And I can look at that. If I look at my cost tab, you can see here, this is the cost, what it costs me to run the heat pump. Now I know I'm an outlier, big battery bank, all the rest of it. But this is my cost versus what it would cost for gas. And I've modeled this because I put the price of gas every single month into the system. So I can model it over time. If gas gets cheaper, then the graphs will adjust for those particular months. But as you can see there, the cost of gas every single month, doesn't matter when we pick it in the middle of the middle of January, it would have cost me £154.76 in gas to get the same volume of heat. It cost me £19.77. If we look in the middle of the summer, we look at July 2025, gas would have cost me £42. The heat pump cost me £14.06. It didn't actually cost me £14.06 because it was 100% came from solar. But if I was buying it at the off-peak rate and storing it in my batteries and running the heat pump from it, that's what it would have cost me. So the myth that you need a COP of 4 or more is totally blown away. There is no situation, if you have a smart tariff and you have some batteries, that you need a COP. You can probably do it with a COP of 2 and it would still be cheaper. Okay, one of the things I hear all of the time is, but the house will be cold. You'll freeze in the winter. That heat pumps don't work, and all those people in Norway and Scandinavia that have heat pumps, they're all living in a delusion. Maybe it doesn't quite go that far. But if I scroll back up here and go to the comfort tab, what you can see here is this is the minimum, maximum, and average temperatures of our family room throughout the entire 15-month period. Now I'm going to zoom in here. I'm just going to go to 2026, so just this year. But what you can see is since the beginning of January, our temperature has sat round about 20 degrees. So 19 to 21 degrees, depending on the time of the day, whether we've got the windows open, letting a bit of air into the house. But really, look at the shape of the three lines. What you can see is that they're pretty consistent, aren't they? They go up and down a little bit. When the house cools down a little bit at night time, it warms up a little bit in the day if there's a bit of sunshine. But it is pretty consistent across the entire 3-month period. So let's take a look at a whole year. Now, again, in the summer, when you start to see these spikes, and it got up to 30 degrees in our house in the middle of the summer, that's nothing to do with the heat pump. That's to do with it being warm outside and the house. We generally have our windows open in the summer, the hot air getting into the house. Now, we could install air conditioning, we could cool that down. But really look at the winter and look at the back end of the year as well. And what you'll see is it is completely consistent. The temperature in the house stays at around about 20 degrees. It is comfortable. And I'm sure there's going to be people saying, I couldn't possibly live in a house that's 20 degrees. Well, we like it at 20 degrees, so we keep it at 20 degrees. We're not freezing to death in January. We're not freezing to death in February. And we haven't frozen to death by the time we get into March and it starts to get sunny again. So the myth about heat pumps not being able to keep your house nice and warm is completely busted. Oh, and one other thing I added to the chart, just because I know there are a few Americans out there and you still use this crazy Fahrenheit thing, you can actually show it in Fahrenheit as well. So if Celsius is some sort of weird witchcraft to you and you don't really understand it, then tick the box to convert everything to Fahrenheit. Okay, finally, we're going to go back to costs. What does it actually cost to run? Now, again, everybody is going to be different because everybody's situation when it comes to smart tariffs, what you're paying for your energy, whether you have solar and batteries, everybody's situation is different. So I can only give you my data. But let me just turn off the gas pricing here because it really sort of skews the graph. So this is if I were paying off-peak rates. Now, for those that don't know, I'm on Octopus Intelligent Go. The price has just reduced. I'm getting the 5.2 pence. I know some people are getting it down as low as 3.5 pence per kilowatt hour. I'm paying 5.2 pence now, but for all of the data that is in the system right now, we were paying 7 pence per kilowatt hour. So you can see there month by month what it would have actually cost us if we were paying 7.7 pence to import a kilowatt hour. So £20 for January 2025. In fact, let's just do the full period. So you can see there, January 2025, it was cold. And if we jump across here to January 2026, it was a little bit cold as well. But what you'll notice here is once you install batteries, the cost of running a heat pump is pretty consistent because things don't change. The house stays at a constant temperature. Now, the reality is it didn't even cost us 20 or £19.77. The reason is that we generate so much excess solar during the year that basically builds up a credit to pay for our energy bills in the winter. But if you were just on a smart tariff, you'd be looking at somewhere between 14 and £20 a month if you could store 90% of what the heat pump uses in a battery. Now, obviously, if you can't, if you have a smaller battery, then those bills will be a little bit higher. But really, what this dashboard is designed to show is real costs, real world data. Without interpretation, if you come to this dashboard tomorrow, I'm not going to sit here and explain why certain things. You can look at the data, you can come to your own conclusions, you can play around with it. At some point, I will add the facility. If somebody wants to download the data, then I will add that functionality to it there. But just to give you an idea of a year's running costs, I'll select 2025 here. So the heat pump used 2,651 kilowatt hours of energy in 2025. From that, we got 9,192 kilowatt hours of heat. That gave us a SCOP for the full year of 3.47, and our energy mix, that means how much versus peak versus off-peak energy, was 97.1. From an ROI perspective, this one doesn't actually change depending if you change the year, because ROI is consistent over a number of years. So far, it has paid itself back 28% of the money that we spent on it. So you can see here we paid what we paid, how much we saved, how much we've got left, and based on the current rate in which it's paying itself off, 3.5 years to pay for itself. And the total running cost for the year based on our off-peak energy rate of £43.64. Anyway, that's my dashboard. It is there. If you want to go play with it, it will be updating. This is a complete work in progress. The same with the solar dashboard. If anybody is interested in that, head back over to the solar dashboard. It will take a few seconds to load in, but all of my solar data going back to 2023 is live in the system, plus statistics for all the different arrays. And again, feel free to have a play with that. So those are the top 5 questions that I get all the time. I hope that I've been able to put at least some of them to bed. I'm sure there's going to be people out there who are going to say, I don't believe your data. I heard from a man down the pub who saw something on Facebook whose Aunt Millie told him that there was a person down the street who's got a heat pump and it doesn't work. All I can tell you is, for me, it works, and I'm going to make all of my data from my solar system, my batteries, my heat pump, my EV chargers, all of my renewable tech is going to be online. It is going to be available to the public to see. And again, I'm not going to add interpretation. I'm just going to put the data into the system, and I'll let you interpret it in whatever way you want. Anyway, if you have any questions, do hit me up in the comments below. I hope this has been interesting. I hope we've managed to put to bed some of those myths. And if I'm lucky, I'll see you back here real soon for another video. Take care. Bye-bye.